Hello and welcome back to Cheer Up, the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been great. The feedback's been so positive and we're super grateful for everybody tuning in. We're super excited because the next 4 episodes have been sponsored by Incredibly Cool Events, which is a cheer event producer, can't get my words out, up and down the UK. So thank you to ICE for sponsoring the next 4 episodes. Let's get into it. Let's get straight into it. Today's episode is going to be about cheer safety, rules and regulations. So before we get into that, Jane, what have you been up to? Or what are you getting up to?
Well, we're having little days out, aren't we, Theo?
Yes.
So Theo is little adventures with me and Theo, which is great because it's like Care in the Community is taking me out. So I'm going to get that in before he does. We're actually going to a London Fashion Week this Friday, aren't we?
Yeah. We're
so
not actually going to London though. We're in Manchester.
No, we're in Manchester. It's London Fashion Week in Manchester, but Manchester is the coolest city anyway. So there's a controversial corner for you there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because I do love my fashion.
Yeah.
And I love clothes shopping and everything. So I'm really excited with all these lovely little premiere events. Gets me out, you know.
Somebody help her. I will. It's only because I get a carer's allowance when she gets older.
Laugh and lean.
Laugh and lean. Jane's been told to laugh and lean because when she laughs, she blows out the mic because she's got that witch cackle. So she's literally like, laugh and lean. I'm like, lean back, laugh and lean, lal. Do it in life. Laugh and lean in life.
I'm leaning back. Oh, God, that'll be taking over the spaghetti carbonara dance. That will.
Thank
laugh
you.
and lean. Anyway, so we're going to get into cheer safety, rules and regulations.
Where do we start with this one, Jane? Small talks, big impact. Big impact. I have no idea. Honestly, I need to go to every single coaches conference that there ever is because each year it changes. I'm just like, what's a new rule? What's the new regulations? What safety do I need? I mean, I'm that sort of person that will put in something illegal in the level that I'm in. I did it this year. You do know that's illegal. I'm like, oh, is it? Is it illegal?
I think that with the cheer safety rules and regulations, I mean, there's courses that you can take, aren't there? I know I went on one of the courses for cheer safety when I was going through this phase of wanting to be a judge, and which I was honestly, I was really rubbish. I was a really rubbish judge, and when it came to the cheer safety, we had to watch this video, and the lady had come over from America, and and it was all official, and there was an exam and everything at the end. I failed. But it's so hard. I mean, it got to level 1. I did okay up to about level 3, and then level 4, level 5 for the legalities. Like, you've got to have an eye of an eagle.
You do, yeah.
Because the safety rules. So if people don't know, that when we do cheer routines, they're the legalities, aren't they? So there's sections in it which they're really complicated, aren't they? But the cheer safety judge is always on every panel.
The worst job in the world.
Worst job. This is why they've got to certify. I think this is why we've got a shortage of them, because people like me go on and thinking they're all that and then they fail. I just found it. Vanessa did quite well on it, to be fair, but I failed miserably because I just kept missing it. But I do get distracted very easily. So
is it that's a pretty bow?
I was like,
she's dangling illegally.
She's like doing this thing, and they're like, "Is that?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just looking at that woman, that other stunt over there. I thought it was really good." So my creative mind was just going over to all of the routine and how that was put together rather than the safety. So I think there has to be a certain type of person that can have that level of concentration when you're watching cheer safety.
You've got to be confident as well.
Definitely. And so when the score sheets come out at competitions, the coaches usually we have like a little app now, don't we, at most events. This little app comes out and it pops up and it'll show you a little video and it'll circle where the legality was and how many points are actually going to be deducted. Now, a coach has got a time frame when you can go back and you can discuss whether that is going to be a legality or not. And I think what's been a confusion for many people, I think, is that I don't think it's so much this year, But we're still waiting for the conferences, aren't we, to come out for this year's rules. But I know in previous years, what was really difficult was we had the ISASF division where there were travel teams and they wanting to go over to do the summit. There was those, and then there was the all-star score sheet.
Yeah.
So we was working as a gyms on we're trying to work on all these different score sheets, which one day
it's
when the heavens open and the waves part and there's a oh, hallelujah, there will be a score sheet that is the same at every event. Producer, if you are watching, it's a good idea for us gyms for you to do that.
Yeah, I just had a vision of you with a staff in a cheer uniform while the ocean just parts and you're just like, hello.
With a white flowing cloak, with the score sheet walking through the parted waves. I present you with a universal score sheet.
I mean, it is. You can understand because it's different in each, obviously, EP, and it's tough because obviously I think one thing that's in our gym, our coach is like, well, we did well at this competition, let's go back there. I'm like, but we need to go do a different score sheet to see what we're going to score in this EP, and that's what the confusion is for us, and it's hard because it just would be so much easier to everybody be on the same playing field.
Well, you've got comparative scoring for one, and then you've got, I know.
I'm just like, I have no idea.
No.
Like the scores, it's like out of 150 or something in it. It's way old. I'm like, when the teams, I'm like, oh yeah, they've hit 95, and they're like, oh yeah, that's really, really good. I'm like, it's out of 150, love.
Yeah, not so good. I'm a bit unfamiliar with the comparative scoring because I was out of the game a little bit last year, but normally really, when I'm coaching, as a gym and as a gym owner with the coaches, I have always been really pedantic about the score sheets. And as I mentioned in previous episodes, we have the golden envelope, which is we try and score it because not every team is going to be at the top of the game. I think it's easier with cheer because you've got grids. Yeah. So we know that you need a minimum of 4 elite skills, your pace and everything else. So the score sheet is your standing tumble, your running tumble,
it's easy,
your technique,
your
stunt section, what you've done, like you say, your 4 elite skills. I generally put another 2 in just in case one doesn't hit, and then you know that you're hitting your high box and your high point scoring when you've got those elite skills. Then you've got your technique, but because the score sheet weighs very heavily on technique, sometimes it's if the skill is a little bit ropey, you've got to make that decision as a coach. Like, do I run the risk of putting the elite in and risking my score sheet on technique?
For sure, because it's how they execute that skill that you're putting in as well. Because like if they're struggling with it, it's looking like a mess. They're going to mark them down for it.
Absolutely.
Like, is it worth having that extra elite move in for it to look a hot mess?
Yeah.
Then just have a basic move that hits nice and clean.
Yeah.
But not get as many points for it.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. I think it was when I was doing the score sheet, it was like 0.3 is the most that can get like taken off. So, for instance, when you're doing your jump section, there's points, isn't there? So all arms have to be in the same place. It's synchronicity, it's timing, it's technique, and there's little points that are taken off each skill set, which this is what I think where the confusion lies with a lot of parents, is because they'll go, well, I was watching that team and I thought we was better than them, but what they've not realised is that maybe that routine might have looked a little bit simpler, but their technique score has scored higher, so that's what's pipped. And the difference between first and 9th place at some competitions can be as little as 1.5 in the scoring. So it's a big learning curve, I think. And I know that some gyms don't necessarily always look at the score sheets, but I know that when I was running the gym,
when we compete and we get the score sheet, we send it in, we have a look, we review it, and then we see where we can make the routine harder or make it better. And obviously correct the stuff that's gone wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not only hard for the coaches, it's hard for the athletes. Like we've got to drill them to get them to this standard, because they're getting picked up, even if they don't point their toes these days.
Yeah.
They're getting picked up on the littlest of things,
Yeah.
which is fair, as we want to make the sport really elite, want to
Yeah.
make it obviously fantastic. It is fantastic. But just like smaller teams, like prep level,
Yeah.
some scores are harsh. I'm like, bless them.
Yeah,
I don't have the heart to tell them, like...
Yeah, I think the one thing for me with prep, which is a bit of a bugbear for me, I have to say, if it's prep, there's not much difference
there's not,
within
no.
the skill set. I think the routine has to be a little bit shorter, but I think it's like three elite skills. I'm thinking, and the tumbles are all the same.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, if it's a prep, can't we, like we mentioned in the last episode that Kim had a level 0, and that was great. That seemed like that was a prep level to me, but where there's a lot less, and because you're getting these children coming into the gym and you're like, how am I going to get them to do that when they're brand new?
Yeah, that's why obviously recreational cheers, obviously. That's fantastic for students. We've started it this year to kind of give them the skill set they need to move into prep, and then from prep into...
Yeah, there just doesn't seem to be a big enough gap
Yeah.
for me from prep into all-star.
It's overwhelming for them as well. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking to tell them that, oh, you didn't do that well because you scored sheets really hard. And like,
Scory people in America, if you're watching, make the prep and the all-star level 1 a little bit easier for us, please, as gym
bless
owners,
them.
please.
And we don't. I think the main thing for me in our gym, probably the same as you, Jane, as we want the kids going in confident.
Yes.
Like we want them being like successful, because it feeds their ego, it feeds their mental health, their achievement level.
Yes.
It will benefit the child to feel like they're doing really good.
Yes.
Which they do try the hardest. All my lot try their really hard. The good English. Try their really hardest. Stay in school. Try their best, and that's all I ask for them. Try your best and have fun, because that's worth more than a score for me as a coach.
Yeah, I think because like you've got like your different range of teams, haven't you? So like with, say for instance, we had our like level 2 travel team.
Yeah.
We was having to hit the score sheet and having to hit like really hard. I think like Shadows got something like 99.8 out of 100 when they went to I know it was one of the scores, because that's what I was like. I was like, what score are they?
Yeah.
What score are they? And when I used to be, when I had a lot of teams, I always looked at my competition on a running order.
Yeah.
And then shall I tell you how geeky I was?
Go on, Jane. Tell us how geeky you are, love.
I had a book, right? Had a book that I researched every team that I was against. And then I saw what scores they got at different competitions, and I gridded it, and I gridded our development against them teams that I aspired to. So I thought, well, these I remember. Oh, and I'm going back a good 60.
Oh my God, I'm going to sneeze. No,
I'm probably going back a minimum of 12 years, if not a bit more. And I remember seeing EMCA, an FC event. And I went to Bournemouth for the very first time, and I had a book, and I was like, I need to know what this team's good. I need to know what score they got, and I need to know. And I, the top 3 ranking, I had my little book like a little geek, and I was sat there ranking them all. But that's how we improved at Tycoons, because we measured ourselves against other clubs that we aspired to.
Yeah.
So
you set yourself a goal, a target, something to work towards.
100%.
Yeah.
And we actually did the same with the hip hop.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we saw ADA. In fact, it was the very first time I saw Cov Dynamite when I went to Bournemouth. Way back, like you say, a good 12 years ago. And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, I did not realise that this was as amazing as what this sport is. And I think from that day on, that was where I got hooked with cheer, because in actual fact, I didn't like coaching cheer originally. I just did the dance. We had a different coach, and she went off to China, so I had no choice.
See there, I'm off. You're coaching
My
cheer
lovely
now.
Vicky, she went off to China, and I had to step up. So I ended up coaching cheer then for 12 years, but it ended up being my love and a passion then.
It's infection. And I think around like the safety of cheer, I think a lot of gyms are so much, they're on it. Like it's always, you've got to protect your athletes when it comes to safety and cheer, because it's a very dangerous sport. Like, people don't realise how dangerous it is,
Oh,
especially when it gets to pyramid.
Well, these are why the chair safety rules have been put into place,
Yeah.
isn't it? And I always find it quite funny what, like, say, when you're looking at the rule sheet and it says, like, say, I think we mentioned it in previous episodes, like no livestock, no fireworks, and you think somebody's done that.
Yeah.
For that to go into the rules, somebody's actually done it. But I think with the score sheets, I think what's really important for our parents to understand, and coaches as well, that the conferences are all put out there so that you can understand what the changes are.
Yeah.
Changes to age range and different divisions. And I feel as though it's been a massive change, but it feels as though it's slowing down a little bit now. The changes are not as much. I think we're trying to find a consistency with, you know, how it's moved from All-Star into ISASF. And so I think that those similarities now are sort of like merging, aren't they? And I do think it will settle more as the sport goes on.
Yeah.
Sport is finding... We're still a relatively new sport. I know it's been around, you know, a good while, but as opposed to...
It's got momentum now, and it's getting seen by a lot more people outside of the industry, so it's definitely got momentum.
The event producers are getting more and more professional, and then we've got like Sport Cheer England who are now stepping in and stepping up, saying these are what we want to see, these are the rules. And Sport Cheer Scotland and Wales, I think Wales are now actually a governing body.
Right,
okay. They actually got approved from that. So I don't know how far we are off with Sport Cheer England, but that's a different topic for another day. But I do think with the judges have a hard job with the score sheets. But again, I think we mentioned it in the episode last time with Kim. With dance, the score sheets, I would love to see a score sheet that's very similar to the cheer score sheet, where it's like, if you've got this and if you've got that, because it's so aesthetic and it can be so different. But I got a bit sidetracked then, but was going back to Bournemouth. When I was scoring people, I remember seeing ADA as well. So Cov Dynamite and ADA, and this is funny actually. So, you know, you do when you're first starting out, you think
bee's knees.
Billy Big. Billy Big.
I'm exactly the same.
Billy
Like, we're starting a new program. Let's do everything.
I remember I went on this training course with FC, and Dave Kenworthy was was there, and he was one of the trainees. And I remember I was in this meeting, and one of my bugbears years and years ago was they always had cheer judges that would be judging dance routines.
Right,
okay. And if I saw we put tutting in your routine one more time, I used to think, well, if I put tutting in the routine, it wouldn't floor the flow of the routine. It would just suddenly stop. And do you remember everyone went like this? Like the tutting little section. It used to drive me bonkers. Everyone was doing tutting, so I was like, no, we want to be different. We're going to be different. So we put Boogaloo in. So I remember saying this.
These are dance names. I have no idea.
So I remember saying to Dave, like, why like, we put Boogaloo in, you know, and we don't just have tutting and being a little bit cocky like you are when you're first starting out. And Dave was like, what's Boogaloo? I'm so embarrassed to say this. Bastard. I stood up and I showed him Boogaloo.
Can you show me Boogaloo, please?
And I stood up, did this little routine. Anyway, years and years passed, and I was at the flight school conference, and apparently I had a nickname called Miss Boogaloo.
On that note, stay away from Jane and a Boogalooing.
But judges have moved on far now. We do have like speciality dance judges now, but back in the day we didn't. And also back in the day, I don't know whether you ever remember this, Theo, you might have been a little tiny tot at this time. But when you went to, I remember being at like Jungle Fever, and you used to get a CD disc of running commentary of your routine. And I remember we used to wait with bated breath for this CD. And then we'd go out to the car, or we'd bring a portable player, and we'd be putting it in and listening, and they'd be going, okay, now let's welcome to the floor Tycoons All-Stars. And we have, that's a really nice toe touch, and there's a forward roll.
Like a commentary, like a football match commentary.
Running commentary. But this was back in the day when rules and the score sheets were not as clear set as they are today. So I think when we were first setting out, I think we had something like 300 toe touches in a routine. It was like toe touch, move, toe touch, tuck and there, and clap, 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 and move. It was.
If you was my coach and said we're going to do 300 toe touches in this routine, I'd walk out that gym.
We had one girl who had a walkover, just one. Our lovely Grace, she was called, and I think we had to get you had to accumulate your tumbles then. Weren't like majority like it is now. So going back to the score sheet now, we have to have a most or a majority who do the tumbles and all the technique, and that's all scored. But way back in the day, you could have one person, and poor Grace was just like walk over it.
Poor girl.
Where can we put her in? Here we go. Here's another one. And you used to count. They count the walkovers.
She's just done 501 walkovers.
Yeah, and this is why rules change, you see, because obviously people saw that and thought that poor girl's back. That can't be good.
We'll end that one there, but that was small short talks, big impact. I can't even speak because I'm giggling. Short talks, big impacts, hashtag walkovers, 501 of them. I think the main thing for coaches and athletes and those that have yet to make up their minds and watching, I think that the understanding how vast rules, regulations and the safety of cheer is these days. And there's obviously EPs out there and camps and educational classes that people can take. So definitely search them in Google or search them wherever. We can pop a link to classes and stuff like that.
I think as well what's really important, I don't know whether everybody knows this, but if you go on the coaches conference, if you are struggling or you're it's a bit grey and you're not sure whether your stunt is legal or not, you can send your video off, and I'm sure it's to like ISASF ruling, but we can put the email at the bottom of this because I can't remember the email.
But we're here to help and educate.
I can't remember the email off the top of my head, but if you go to an event and then you get a legality on that, and you've got the email saying that this is legal. Sometimes that can be argued as well because let's just for one, it's prep and it's gone above where it should have done. But when you sent your video off, it stayed within the legal range of where that stunt should be. There's always that argument. But if you have got that piece of paper or that email to say that has been passed, you've got a much better chance of debating and getting your scores back with the judges than you have if you don't have it.
Little piece of golden nugget of information there, Jane.
I do try.
Moving into controversial corner, we have to keep this one short, sweet, fast. Is obviously we touched base on it earlier. Is a different score sheets.
Oh man, like we said earlier on, like why?
Yeah, it is.
We've
tough.
got comparative. We've got different.
Yeah, I have no idea when it comes to it these days. I'm just like, and it's hard as a coach to build a routine because you're like, what score sheet shall I build my routine towards? Because I want to make sure I'm getting the best out of my athletes, and I'm obviously hitting the scores that I need for them to become top 3 or top 5 or whatever. And then I might have focused my routine on this score sheet, but then I go to this event and it's completely different, and I'm being marked like I've got no points, and they come in 10th, 11th, and I'm just like, it's tough, isn't it? It's really, really hard.
It is, and I think that's what's really important. I know at Tycoons I used to do in-house development with the coaches, always have done. Every quarter we always did like a developmental section, but always at the start of the season we'd go on the coaches conference, we'd know what the score sheets were, then we'd get back and then we'd discuss the other score sheets of the competitions where we was going. That is really difficult because, and as a gym, there's also a cost to that. Because generally, they're never up north. So then there's not just the cost of the course, but then there's the cost of the hotel for your coaches and everything else. And, some of them can
it's
be...
one thing we might start up, Jane. Cheer up the podcast, educational purposes, on tour.
Yeah, but I think because we're trying to keep prices as affordable as possible, but these are like business expenses that need to be included in your prices. So when people are asking like, oh, well, why is it so expensive? Well, because like we've got to send like 5 coaches down, and then there's the travel expenses, there's the CPD, there's the courses themselves that you've got to pay for. On top of that, you've got the hotel accommodation. So it doesn't end up being very cheap. And I think sometimes that is a problem if you're a smaller gym. And
honestly, I'm sad. I send just 2 of my coaches and like take all the knowledge in, bring it back, we'll relay it to everybody else.
That's what we used to do.
And it's like do we need to do it each year? Because I can just obviously get the score sheet off the website and read through it myself. Obviously, it's nice to go to a conference and have it broken down to you, explained a bit better. But sometimes that cost for us as a smaller community club, we can't afford to send them every year to go to these. Like you said, I think the closest one to us is Nottingham. That's still an hour away from us.
It is, and I think because we have to have the rules and we need those guidelines. My controversial statement will be that I think the event producers should have something that is online.
Yeah.
So if you can't make it, maybe you could pay for the training. Yeah. But that training is online. So then the gyms could then say, okay, this is part of our training. Yeah. We can zoom in on this, and it could be pre-recorded. Yeah. But it would help the gyms that don't have as much money or the finances to actually be trained up and not have the expense of sending people down. It kind of puts you in a box, doesn't it? It definitely puts us in a box because, like I said, we're small. We can't afford to send them every year. Like, it's just, I don't think we're going this year. We're just going to obviously get the rules and read them ourselves and stuff, but it's just... And you can miss things like that, like the small little details. And I think sometimes you have those aha moments when you've got your experts at the front who know the cheer safety, who know the rules, who know the score sheets, because the event producers have that cost of sending their judges away to train. Then that's got to come back, and those costs are all there as well. So there's a lot of hidden costs that are involved within the score sheets. But like I said, with sending the coaches on the trips is expensive. But if there was just something that was online...
Honestly, we're going to have a new cheer up education.
Yeah, I think that would be really good if we had something like that where we could tap into something that's we done. And if that ever comes out, you're welcome.
I thought Sports Cheer England did something like that. Or was that just like your safety stuff, like your regulations, your DBSs, your bits and bobs like that?
Well, Sport Cheer England are doing a good job in the fact that clubs can register now with Sport Cheer England, and if you get their mark for Sport Cheer England, it means that all your coaches have got the DBS checks, all your coaches have got the safety checks, they've all been trained. I know that we've gone for that at Tycoons, so we've got accredited mark.
So it's a bit like being British gymnastics certified.
It is. It's like a certified thing.
We're not, because again, that's a cost for our club, and we're just like, but then it also looks bad on us because we've got whoever down the road, they've got a credit is ticked by Sports Cheer England, but then you've got me and All Stars over here who's not a credit. But I'm like, that's an extra cost I have to give to my parents. I'm like, we're not big enough yet for that, and we're community based for now. That's what we're going to stay. We're still DBS checked. We're still first aid checked. I mean, 2 of my coaches work with the NHS, so they're overqualified.
And I think the regulation within the sport is moving forward in the right direction as well, because I do think that it's important that we have some kind of regulation where we can say, well, this is that, and we've got this mark. So especially I think for clubs who want to go and work in schools, because a lot of clubs don't, they go and work in after school clubs and things like that. It gives that school just that what's the word I'm looking for?
Security.
So yes, that's it. It gives it an extra security that with you're sending your child somewhere that they've got that actual stamp mark, and so you're assured that people have got what they need. But we generally have ours up into little pitch frames anyway.
I love that. Well, we don't have a gym. Well, we have a gym. We actually got one of the largest facilities in Leeds now. We train in a sports hall. It's huge.
It
massive.
Looks amazing.
It's
it
really
does.
cool.
You've shown me the pictures.
Honestly,
and it does look
massive.
great where you're training.
But anyway, that ends today's little chat and cheer up the podcast. If you've liked it, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram at Cheer Up the Podcast. We'd also like to say a thank you again to Incredibly Cool Events for sponsoring this episode and the next 3. If you're upset or being offended by anything we say in our podcast, please visit our website because our disclaimer's on there. And if you want to reach out to us, whether it be good or bad, you can reach out to us directly on email or call or via our social media platforms.
Definitely do that.
I've been Theo.
And I've been Jane Valentine.
See you.